Coming up, the story behind an absolute classic of rock and roll from its iconic singer. And the first four words of this song, maybe the most recognizable, most memorable ever. I'm being serious here. This is a story that you have to hear to believe. The song was written by an actor who was in one of 1984's biggest movies. In fact, this actor's mother also wrote a #1 hit. They're the only mother-son combo to accomplish that in the history of music. And the band almost didn't even record this song because they thought it was a little bit silly. The unbelievable story is up next on Professor of Rock. Hey music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. You know, if you've ever lip-synced in front of the mirror, you're gonna dig this channel. You know you have, we all have. Make sure to subscribe below right now to get legendary tales of music from those who were actually there. And also, if you click up here where I'm pointing, you can see our new merch. And make sure to look us up on Patreon for even more content that supports our mission of music curation. Go to professorofrock.com to see more. Now, in many of the interviews I've done with legendary artists and groups, it seems like a lot of the time they emphasize the importance of the opening chords or the opening lyrics. You know, to grab a listener and never let them go from the get-go. Well, of the eons of songs that have been written over the last 100 years, I think this song might have the best first four-word hook in history. Jerimiah was a bullfrog.
Jerimiah was a bullfrog!
I mean, you have to have been living underneath a rock for the last 60 years if you don't recognize that riveting opening of one of the all-time staples of classic rock and roll by the multi-platinum marauders known as Three Dog Night. Man, Three Dog Night, they had a collection of some of the best musicians in the game at that time, including Jimmy Greenspoon on keys, Joe Shermy on bass, Michael Alsop on guitar, and Floyd Sneed on drums. They were one of the biggest bands in America, selling out live shows nationwide. In fact, they were one of America's first stadium bands. Led at their peak by the 3/4 singing trio of Corey Wells, Danny Hutton, and Joy to the World's lead, Chuck Negron. They had 21 top 40 hits from the late 60s into the 70s, including one, Shambhala, an old-fashioned love song,
Coming down.
Black and White, Easy to Be Hard, Mama Told Me Not to Come, and their signature song, Joy to the World. So many others. You know, with a plethora of great material from some of the best songwriters of the time, including Paul Williams, Laura Nyro, and Hoyt Axton, just to name a few. Hoyt Axton was actually in the 1984 blockbuster Gremlins.
You're gonna like this. No, don't shake it. We're gonna have to open it now. It won't wait till Christmas.
He also wrote Joy to the World. We'll get more into that more into the video, but actually Three Dog Night recorded Elton John's Your Song and released it before Elton's version here in America.
I hope you don't mind. I hope you don't mind that I put down and...
Now, Three Dog Night was a force to be reckoned with back at their peak. Their music is not only timeless, but in a 6-year period from about 1969 to 1974, the group pretty much never left the charts. They were all over rock radio, pop radio. When I was growing up, all over classic rock radio. My mom and dad played a lot of records when I was growing up, and this one definitely stood out from all of them. So much energy. You know, I remember singing it as a little, 5-year-old kid running around the house. It was like a nursery rhyme to me because of the imagery. Joy to the World, indeed. This song, it just made you feel good no matter what mood you were in. I mean, that sensational Chuck Negron vocal, as a kid, it made me feel 12 feet tall and invincible. Well, I was pretty excited when I got the chance to talk with the almighty voice behind this classic, the great Chuck Negron, at a music studio just outside of LA. What follows is one of the most interesting stories behind a classic song that I've ever witnessed. Chuck's own story of redemption is one that will definitely touch your heart. This song, I tell you, it belongs to everybody. As we go into this interview, I do want to thank our sponsors, Zenni Eyewear, the brand I always wear. I'm wearing my clear glasses here today. Right now at Zenni.com, you can get some pretty amazing first-class aviators, either as glasses or sunglasses, and you can add great features once you choose your style, like blue blocks that protect your eyes from digital blue light. Go check it out today at Zenni.com. Here is the story of Joy to the World.
Jerimiah was a bullfrog, was a good friend of mine.
Naturally, of course, 1970, one of your biggest records, of course, because one of the biggest songs of all time, Joy to the World, 5 times platinum. Yeah. I mean, there have only been just under 100 songs that have sold that many copies in the history of popular music. Just amazing. Number one song in 1971, as we said, I would argue it's the most recognizable first 4 words of a song ever, the first 4 that you hear. I mean...
Yeah, it's pretty close.
And well, I've seen it on billboards, too, for classic rock radio stations, right?
Yeah,
Jerimiah was a bullfrog with the bullfrog, or Jerimiah was and then the bullfrog there.
Yeah.
Hoyt Axton, the only person in the history of popular music that his mom and him had a number one hit. His mom, of course, wrote Heartbreak Hotel. And he wrote Joy to the World, and so that's the only time that's ever happened that a mother and son have had a number one song.
When I came out with my Christmas album, this is, of course, years later, I did some shows in Nashville, and she showed up.
Really?
She showed up to support me.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like, and then she was like royalty, Nashville royalty. And everyone was more impressed that she showed up than me being there, so... But she was great. She was great.
I mean, one of the songs that kicked open the door of rock and roll, Heartbreak Hotel.
Yeah, oh wow.
And then his son to write the song, and it had a good luck charm before you guys even recorded.
Yeah.
The guys kind of said, this is a little bit of a silly song. You kind of stood up for it, and you said, no, I think we need to do this. I mean, maybe never would have been, because they're like, that's nothing. And then something happens and a happy accident or whatever. But tell me about that whole process. You already told us a little bit about it, but tell us the story from the beginning. The song comes in, you said 4 different times he's trying to sell it to you. Go ahead.
He played it for Corey. Corey didn't feel it was right for him. And then he played it for Danny, and Danny didn't feel it was right for the band. Mm-hmm. And as far as that goes, that's it. Then he'd come a couple of times and play it around when the guys are, And then one evening I was there, and he came in, and he played it again, and I went, what? Jeremiah was a prophet. What is that? And he went, oh, no, well, that originally was, so I'm going to make it now a gospel song, which he did. He had a version of it. Mm-hmm. And, I said, well, what was the version you've been playing for the guys? And he played Jeremiah Was a Bullfrog. Now, when I heard, we were working at it. If I hadn't heard the playback of me singing Jeremiah Was a Bullfrog, who knows what would have happened? I might have passed with the rest of the guys. But I knew that was a hit. I knew that line was going to be in everyone's head. It was just too bizarre, and, it was coming, hitting you right in the face. So, I stuck up for it because I thought it was...
you thought you kind of needed a silly song, is what I read.
I felt,
because there's a lot of serious songs on that record.
That we needed, we needed to lighten up, And, we did just on the Rolling Stone cover, I think so. And, we were a little full of ourselves. So, which is, as I said earlier, is very easy to happen. So, I think everyone's very happy we did it.
No question. It's also, when you guys were recording that and you were having to push the key up every time the Jeremiah, and really go after it. How did the musicians, because you had such a great band too, how did the musicians cover that? Because there's so many other iconic parts of that song.
Yeah, Joe and Michael, and of course Floyd's rhythm, but Joe and Michael had a very intuitive thing, and it was very rhythmical. That's why you're going, dun-dun-dun.
If I were the king of the world, tell you
they did things like that, and in lieu of having a B3 just going through, you'd have the dun-dun-dun and the B3, So it was that band was just very involved in this song. I even brought them in to do the singing because Danny and Corey were a little, a little standoffish about it because they had turned it down. So when the guys got involved in the singing, the background singing, and it was working,
that's such a huge chorus.
Yeah, they come in.
I know.
They start singing. And then, of course, Corey, with his ad-libs and Danny's thickness. Danny had a thickness in his voice that just filled a lot of space with character. His voice was kind of reined in the intensity of my voice and the intensity of Corey's voice in a way that might be shrill. He just smoothed it out. So, and that's what a band is. Everyone helps someone else with what they do.
The big chorus that came on and everybody's singing on it, that's where you feel that joy, man.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other title that song could be called The Joy to the World, because it just has that unadulterated joy. You hear it on the radio, you're going to turn it up, you're going to be singing it. Everybody knows that. It was Larry Bergman, a DJ in Seattle, that gave it its shot. I always read that story. It was like KISW FM. And back then, AM was bigger than FM.
Sure, yeah.
And he played it, and the manager of the radio station came down the hall and said, we're getting so many calls about this song, you got to keep playing it.
Wow.
And so that was kind of the story that I heard about in Seattle, and that's why I think you guys even went down to Seattle later after that had happened. But
you know what? I actually did a thing, and it must be for him. I recorded Jerimiah Was a Bullfrog with words, using the guy's name and thanking him.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. So that was the guy.
That was it, Larry Bergman. You also made a comment about the song that I always thought was interesting. You said, Joy to the World may not be our best song with it. It's our most honest song. It might be our most honest song. I like that.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, you're always trying to achieve something. In that song, we were just trying to have fun and be real. And I think that's what comes over, and I think that's what happens in a lot of songs. Because, most songs are written, they're performed, to be powerful, to be something. This song evolved. It became what it was.
Because like you said, it also brought the band together a little bit, too.
Yes, it did. It did. They were friends with Hoyt, so they wanted to bring it home for him, and they knew that the other guys had turned it down, so they wanted to bring it home. So there was a lot, invested in a sense, and it made the difference.
Because that song, it's always in the pop culture vernacular, but also 12 or 13 years later, it had such a huge resurgence with The Big Chill.
Jeremiah was a bullfrog.
And so I decided to go see the movie. And opening up with that little boy singing that song, it made me cry. It made me cry because, at that point, my life wasn't very good.
Yeah.
And to feel that you did something important, and important enough to have a child, and you knew it had to happen, it had happened, it was very special. It was very special for me. And, those are the things in my dark times that showed me, with all the self-loathing that I had, that in fact I'd done something, at least something that was good. In a time
it brought people together and meant something.
And, in a time I needed to know that. Yeah.
If they would have re-released it, I think that could have made its way up the charts again. I was talking to Bill Medley about the Righteous Brothers about, like, You Lost That Love and Feeling on Top Gun, and he said the same thing.
Yeah.
Kind of said that. There were a lot of songs in the 80s where they played 60s songs that if they would have released it again, it could have went to number one.
Especially having such a forum in that movie. That movie was huge.
Big Chill, Top Gun,
great
all those.
scene.
Oh, yeah. It helps make the movie what it is because Big Chill is really about baby boomers and where they are now, and such a huge soundtrack, and to be on that, but also to be on Forrest Gump.
Somebody said world peace was in our hands, but all I did was play ping pong.
I thought, well, this is an important movie in the sense that all the music they're using, and we're a part of it. We're a part of it, and that record sold 8 million copies around the world. They gave, the award they gave was a Bubba Gump shrimp box. With the RIAA signature and the CD, double CD.
Wow.
It was nice. To be a part of Americana, so to speak, is very, very special.
Because that's what was great about that movie, is it brought the music and the history together
for
the younger generation. I mean, I remember when I went and saw it, I was just so blown away. And of course, went right out and bought the soundtrack because I'd heard those songs a million times from my dad showing me.
Yeah.
It was great to hear that progression, but also Friends.
Jeremiah was a bullfrog.
It's so nice that's a part of this. Someone's using one of these cartoons is using.
Oh, no, it's Joy to the World. It's
Joy-
Sausage Party.
Sausage Party.
Yeah,
it's Joy to the World.
Yeah, it's Joy to the World. They use it at the very end.
So you're right, it's Sausage Party. But
keeps,
someone else is using one because I'm real bad with that stuff.
Denver Broncos also use it. Played at the end of the Super Bowl.
A Super Bowl championship for John Elway and the Denver Broncos.
And then another thing that kind of brings it back around to what influenced you as a kid, Little Richard covered.
Jeremiah was a bullfrog.
I did not know that.
Little Richard covered it, and the Supremes and the Four Tops covered it and released their version later on. What's interesting is also all the frog marketing that happened with that song. What they use with that. You probably got some pieces of that yourself.
I have more frogs than probably anyone in the world.
Yeah, I was going to bring you a little gift, and I forgot it at the
I've got
hotel.
something for you.
And it was a frog.
It was a frog.
Yeah.
I was once given this really beautiful silver frog, which I still have. I mean, I felt like saying in an article, I like gold frogs.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Make sure to leave us a comment about this master classic of the rock and roll era. What are your thoughts on this song and about Three Dog Night and their broad catalog of classics? What are your memories of hearing them for the first time, especially this song? Now, if you like this video, we do invite you to be, a full-time part of our community by subscribing. We'd love to have you. Also, we do invite you to check us out on Patreon and go to professorofrock.com to check out for more things, our merch. Help us keep the music alive. That is our goal. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends. We'll see you soon.